Welcome back to your live continuing coverage of InfoComm 2015's Digital Signage Pavilion on the Digital Signage stage here at InfoComm 2015 in the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. You're the Terrifics, and this is BeTerrific, the official live coverage of the Digital Signage Pavilion at InfoComm 2015. This is where the magic is happening. This is the real theme park in Orlando, and it's a lot of fun. It's really been an amazing experience so far. We've got a lot more to come for you guys. We're here today, the rest of the day, and we're here tomorrow as well from 9:30 in the morning on till the end. I've got a very special guest on here. You met him yesterday during the wrap-up show. You'll see him again today during the wrap-up show and tomorrow as well. He's a legend in the business and in the industry. He helped create the Digital Signage Pavilion and the stage, and realizes that it's all about education, passing the torch forward, and about getting people together. He's a visionary, and he's a good man, and he owns a company that is an integrator for all of the digital signage needs you may have. Multimedia Systems is the name of the company, and Mike White is joining us. Thank you, Mike. It's great to have you on here. You know, I'm really excited about having you on here. I'm proud of this because this is something you and I talked about last year, and we were able to put it together a lot with your help and seeing the vision and pushing, and a lot with the great people at InfoComm and Jason McGraw and his group, and you know, Debbie and Patty and Barbara and all those wonderful people, and Jim Nista helped out a lot too in getting this to happen, and it's been great. But I'm so proud to have you on here because, like, you know, you were on the wrap-up show, but this is your official interview, and this is your time to shine. Thank you.
And I also want to reflect my thanks for the way that this has been brought to a whole new level of professionalism here. There are so many different divergent things under the umbrella of digital signage, and you do such a great job of being able to ask the right questions to bring out the very best for your viewing audience and stuff, something that it was just very difficult for me in the early years when I was sitting in your seat and not the professional to try to do the same thing, and I want to thank you as well.
Well, thank you very much. Your words mean the world. They really do, and thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to do this, and it's great to be able to bring it to our audience and the audiences that are finding us around the world. And I think this is only the beginning of this stage of it, this format, and we can just make it bigger and better from here. You're an integrator.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes we talk about all these do-it-yourself answers, and that works in some cases, and it certainly works for getting people involved in digital signage and getting them started. We talked on the wrap-up show yesterday about how, you know, okay, there's a place for that, but really there are some pain points with that, especially with you can do a lot of the wrong things and maybe even wind up hurting yourself with getting your message out, because it's no matter what digital signage is advertising in some way, shape, or form. Even if you're just putting up CNN, you're putting up something to invite and to interact with the customer or the client. And so how important is the integrator in doing this and helping you find the right solution? Do we overlook the integrator a lot sometimes these days?
Well, let's start back with almost start at the foundation. What is an integrator? Because in today's environment, that word is even brings up some degree of confusion, because there are a lot of organizations out there, and this is only reflected in the standpoint of making clear and defined definition. There are a lot of companies out there that are the manufacturer that in fact reflect that they are also the integrator. From my standpoint, an integrator is a company, an organization, a person that goes into an environment where the first point that they establish in every single conversation is, what is it that they need? I don't start out trying to sell a product. I'm completely agnostic, both hardware, software, the whole 9 yards. And so I'm first asking questions. I'm asking questions to allow me to make the best decisions, the best recommendations. So from the standpoint of what is an integrator and what does a multimedia solutions do, or what does any integration do, is first knowing the value of the right questions and bringing those questions to the forefront for the very first thing to be established before I think about, because if I'm a manufacturer and I really only have one solution to bring you, then I'm really trying to ask questions that bring you around to fitting into my mold, because that is not necessarily a negative, because there's so many really great companies out there, but it is different than the integrator role in this business, which is to sit down with a customer, ask them questions about everything from what is it you're trying to accomplish, what type of network considerations do you have, what type of content creation capabilities do you have, how often do you plan to update it, what is your dwell times, what are all the concerns that you have, and then sit down with your team and say, okay, from that set of environments, look at all that's available and not make a choice based on what is the only choice, but make a choice based on what's best on the customer, and then to propose that. And that's what Multimedia Solutions has done, continues to do, and the role of an integrator here at Multimedia Solutions, that's not in any way to reflect negative on others, but it's very important to and today, there are to my knowledge, Mike, there are no companies out there that has someone on staff that is called Director of Digital Signage, or my name is Mr. Digital Signage for such and such. Reality is, it is a project that is brought to someone that already had a full-time job, that it's laid on their desk and says, oh, by the way, you're in the IT department most often, and oh, by the way, I need you because you know all about this stuff. Yeah, you know all about this stuff, and you go and you put together this digital signage project, and this person's going, yeah, like I don't have anything to do, and now you're going to bring me a large digital signage project to do. And so as a result, you've got this already overburdened person that is faced in a terrible situation, oftentimes even given a budget. Now, where these budgets come from, the ultimate, and plucking it from the air.
Yeah.
And they'll say, before this executive ever has any earthly idea of what a reasonable recommendation would be for a digital signage project, they will tell this other person, for $15,000, $18,000 a location, because that's what I perceive the budget to be, to accomplish this grandiose idea. It says, I want you to bring me back a well-vetted digital signage solution. Now, the reality is that just has disaster written all over it.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I don't mean to just
No,
get
it's
carried
great.
away.
It is a great point, and exactly, I see it happening now. I see the guy sitting his head going, 15 screens. I go to Best Buy and I buy them for like $7.99 each, and maybe you need a computer. Okay, it'll be 20 grand for 15 screens. So go.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and so they have no idea that they need to consider content creation. But more often than not, and so many of my friends that share the stage and with me at other speaking events like Laubun and such, they have no, not Lau, but the companies, they have no idea of the ongoing investment to keep it fresh, clean, crisp, relevant.
Well, that's something you said to me last year, and I remember this. It's you said the biggest challenge, and one of the worst things you can hear is, here's my digital signage. Thank you so much, Mike. I love it. It's great. So what are we going to put on this thing? And then you go, wait, what's your budget? A budget? No, we just spent all this money for the signage. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's supposed to come with that.
Yeah.
Like
and so it's really an afterthought, and that is also part of the maintenance and the recurring cost that people don't think of. They think it's just a one-time, hey, let's do this, and like you said, and oh, we want to add screens. And I think it's important to also talk about the fact that you can't just go buy off-the-shelf screens. I mean, technically you could buy a Chrome box and go to Best Buy and buy whatever, but these are to get it right, to make it work in outdoor lighting or this lighting or that lighting, to make it work for a long time. The screens at Best Buy aren't designed to run 24/7 365.
Well, yes, but I also want to be fair to everyone in the conversation and to my good friends in all these manufacturing environments. Several years ago, it used to be that there was a great divide between consumer grade electronics and the commercial grade stuff. There still is a element of differentiation between screens that are designed for casual TV use, screens that are designed for 16-hour operation 7 days a week and 24/7. It's all primarily built on the way that it handles heat and the buildup of heat within the thing. But the reality is, it's that there's so many elements of digital signage. It's not just the hardware, and it's not just the player. It's the business objective. It's the content. It's even knowing, you know, the security requirements on the network and being able to work comfortably with the IT department. So, what is an integrator? An integrator is someone that simply has enough stripes on their back, having done it wrong, or worked with the companies that have done it wrong, to be able to sit down with them and say, you know, based on these experiences, we need to talk about this before you sign your first sheet of paper. You mentioned just a few minutes ago that they perceive it to be just a box they can buy. Well, the reality is it's presented that way a lot, and that's frustrating to me, because while you can indeed buy digital signage in a box for a single room front, a single screen application, and indeed it will work because technology has got so stable, and software it still requires good content, but the reality is you can't, the reality is that sometimes in the effort to make it more palatable to get people to buy, that some avenues to deliver the product have represented it much more simplified than it really is. Digital signage is not for the beginner. It is, anybody can go out and buy hardware and even buy digital signage software, but there are those other elements that it will be the undoing of your investment, the waste of your money, the entire destruction of all of your investment.
Well, and it can be bad for your ROI, but it can also be bad because it can send the wrong message, or it can turn people off and turn people away. We've got a great audience here that's watching this live, and we welcome people to come join us in booth 5187 if they're coming to InfoComm later today or tomorrow. But I want to let the audience know that if you have a question, there is a mic. You can just jump up there and we'll get to you, and you can ask your question live on air. In our Slack chat, we have a chat going.
Yep.
Paul Dixon from London, England, across the pond,
all right,
wants to know how you got your start in digital signage and what the most fascinating job you've ever done is.
Well, got our start from the fact that the company, which is 25 years old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Has always been focused on adding value. If there was an area of technology that got to the point to where there was no value that we could bring, it wasn't a good fit for us. So about 10 years into our company, or about 15 years ago, I started noticing this technology emerging that was having to do with something that eventually evolved into digital signage. But we got our really big opportunity as a result of sales. A salesperson, happened to be my brother at the time, Steve, who got a call from a large company that is often in the news now. Actually, it was Office Depot, that called us and said, you know, we're Office Depot and we want to buy some plasmas. Keep in mind, this was the day that plasma screens were 42 inches, cost $7,000 to $10,000. He says, we want to buy some plasma screens. And in reality, my brother and I and others in the company had discussed this digital signage thing well enough to where his first question as an integrator was not, yes, Mr. Office Depot, that we can sell you plasma screens, but it was that, Mr. Office Depot, what are you planning to do with those plasma screens? An integrator question. And as a result, the guy at the other end practically threw up his hands. You could hear it emotionally at the other end say, finally talking to someone. Says, you're my 15th call, and everybody else didn't recognize that we as Office Depot could buy any of the screens that we wanted to, any time that we wanted. We were looking for an integrator that would finally ask us the question, instead of how many do you want and what color do you want them in, how do you plan on using them? So our first start happened to do with digital signage. Now that was during the days of vaporware. Oh man, that was during the days, that's stripe number 29 and 31 on my back. Don't always believe everything that you hear about a content delivery company. They're really great people, but most of the answers that come out of their mouth is yes, before they've actually accomplished it. Well, that was the early days before they had actually accomplished it. So a lot of the development came back on the integrator. But our first development happened to do with a lot of rollout of hundreds and hundreds of screens to Office Depot, and at that time it was playback of MPEG-2 video, just TV commercials. That was before the studies had been done relative to dwell time, what really makes, so it was a lot of learning. So that was how we got our start, and it was a result of some of the publishing of white papers around that that actually gave me the opportunity to do some other jobs. That was probably some of the, but as far as some of the cool stuff is like when we did the USGA Golf Museum just outside of Washington, D.C. So all the interactive displays there was probably one of the neatest ones, to be able to interact with Arnold Palmer and some of the players and see their lives coming to life with the use of digital signage in the museum environment. So it's just been all over the gamut. Sorry,
well,
I get enthusiastic.
You're great. I love the passion. It's phenomenal. I think you answered Paul Dixon's questions. Thank you for your questions, Paul. And by the way, you can join our Slack chat, BeTerrific.com/Slack. How did you become an advocate? You're an advocate for digital signage and an evangelist. How did you become an advocate and evangelist? I think it's great, and I love how you pay it forward.
Well, the reality is it all has to do with the way that I was brought up. I was brought up in the fact that it's always about, we would call it pay it forward, but it's always about giving, because it's always about planting the seeds and helping others, because we don't know where it'll come back, but it'll come back someplace. But it's always about helping others, and in the reality, I absolutely love to teach, and in this area of digital signage, it was a platform that I could take my passion and pair that together with something that was very much needed, and that was the teaching others of how they could do digital signage without losing their shirt.
Mike, thank you so much. I think it's a great story. You have a great company. Congratulations on 25 years. I'm honored to have you on the stage. You are a legend in this business. Thank you so much. Thank you for seeing the vision. You're a sharp dresser. I got to mention that. I love it. And we'll see you later today on the wrap-up show as well. It's Multimedia Solutions. They're one of the greatest integrators in the digital signage space. You can find out more m-media.com, m-media.com. And that's Mike White. Thank you so much. We'll be back with a whole lot more right after this on InfoComm 2015's Digital Signage Pavilion coverage, your live continuing coverage on BeTerrific. We're the official coverage. You're the Terrifics. I'm Michael Artsis. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere.